Paris Fashion Week is not a playground, it's a fortress, and this season the silence around Meghan Markle was louder than any runway music. While cameras chased A-listers and legacy fashion royalty, one name dominated social media for a very different reason. Meghan wasn't there, wasn't photographed, wasn't seated, and wasn't acknowledged by the official PFW machine. In an industry obsessed with optics, absence is not neutral, it's a message. And whether fans like it or not, Paris Fashion Week made its position very clear by saying absolutely nothing. Let's be honest about how Paris Fashion Week works, because this is where a lot of people get confused. This isn't Coachella, it's invitation only, tightly controlled, and run by fashion houses that protect their brand image like state secrets. Security isn't there to be dramatic, it's there to enforce lists, credentials, and access rules that are locked weeks in advance. You don't just show up because you're famous, married into royalty, or trending online. If your name isn't cleared, security doesn't negotiate, doesn't explain, and definitely doesn't bend. Now here's the uncomfortable part critics are pointing out. Meghan Markle used to be welcomed in elite fashion spaces, especially during the early post-royal years when designers were curious, media attention was high, and association felt beneficial. Fast forward to now, and the industry calculus looks different. Fashion houses are risk-averse. They avoid controversy that distracts from product, and they prioritize relationships that feel stable, predictable, and commercially safe. When a public figure becomes polarizing, brands don't argue, they quietly step back. And that's why the conversation isn't about a dramatic public ejection, but about something more cutting: exclusion by omission. No confirmed invitations. No front row placements. No designer shout-outs. No official presence. Paris Fashion Week doesn't need to embarrass anyone publicly. It simply closes ranks. That's how power works in that space. When security blocks access, it's not personal, it's procedural. And procedure reflects decisions made long before anyone reaches the door. Supporters argue Meghan doesn't need Fashion Week validation, and that may be true emotionally, but strategically it matters. Fashion weeks are currency. They signal relevance, influence, and alignment with elite tastemakers. Being absent doesn't mean failure, but repeated absence, especially when peers and rivals are visible, raises questions. Critics aren't inventing a scandal, they're reacting to a pattern the fashion world itself is displaying. There's also the brand fatigue issue no one likes to admit out loud. Designers want ambassadors who elevate clothes, not controversies that hijack headlines. Over the past few years, Meghan's public image has been defined less by style leadership and more by disputes, documentaries, lawsuits, and fractured alliances. Fashion thrives on aspiration, not exhaustion. When attention turns heavy, brands quietly disengage. No press release needed. And let's talk about security again, because this is where reality kills the fantasy. Paris Fashion Week venues are protected by private security teams working directly for fashion houses and organizers. Their job is to stop unapproved access, even from very famous people. This isn't punishment, it's protocol. If someone isn't cleared, they don't get waved in out of courtesy. That's not humiliation, that's how elite systems enforce boundaries. What made this moment explode online is how fast people noticed. Fashion watchers clock everything. Seating charts, guest lists, arrivals, departures. When someone with global name recognition is missing, the internet fills in the blanks. And instead of rushing to correct the narrative, the fashion establishment stayed silent. No clarifications. No denials. No, she chose not to attend. Silence, again, doing the heavy lifting. This feeds into a larger critique that Meghan's influence may now be stronger in media commentary than in elite cultural spaces. She still commands attention, clicks, and debate, but fashion is transactional. If attention doesn't translate into brand value, doors don't open. That's not misogyny, racism, or conspiracy, that's capitalism with a couture label. Influencers covering this story aren't reacting to rumors, they're reacting to visible reality. No runway sightings. No backstage photos. No designer endorsements tied to the week. In an industry where visibility is everything, invisibility becomes the story. And once that narrative sets in, it's hard to shake because fashion moves on fast and doesn't look back. So here's the uncomfortable takeaway that Paris Fashion Week delivered without saying a word: relevance in elite spaces has to be constantly earned, not assumed. Titles, past status, and online fandom don't override current brand calculations. Meghan Markle wasn't dragged out by security in front of cameras, but she didn't get through the gates either. And in the world of high fashion, that quiet no speaks louder than any public confrontation ever could.